Monday morning. The alarm is ringing cheerfully, and you vaguely remember you've already hit the snooze button, maybe not even once. You force your eyes open into narrow slits and look through the haze at the clock. 5:30. 5:30? You leap out of bed, sleep driven from your brain with an electric jolt. Work starts at 9, and you'll definitely be late already, but you may yet make it before lunch if you hurry. The kids are still asleep, of course, all 6 of them. Rushing through the house but trying to be as quiet as possible, you put on the first clothes you take out of the wardrobe and walk out of the apartment. On the elevator landing, there's already a crowd of sleepy people. Even 8 cabins aren't nearly enough to accommodate everyone in the morning. You take your place at the end of the line and wait. 2 elevators arrive, half full already, taking in about a quarter of the people on the landing. It takes another 10 minutes or so for you to finally cram into a cabin and start moving down from the 42nd floor. You feel bad for those living below. They have to wait even longer. It's 6 a.m. when you leave the apartment building and join the rushing crowd outside. As usual for this time of day, there's a huge traffic jam on the road nearby. The crowd of pedestrians is too big, so you have to walk slowly. In about an hour, you get to the subway and stand in line to get inside. It'll take another 40 minutes or so. Still faster than walking all the way to the office or driving. Underground, you have to wait for your turn to hop inside the train. They come every 5 minutes, but there are so many people that even cramming doesn't help. You only manage to get on after another 20 minutes. The doors catching the hem of your jacket. You stand flat against the doors, pushed into them by the press of the people. At the next stop, you have to get off the train to let others out. But when you try to get back, you're pushed by the crowd waiting to hop on and miss your place. Come on! The doors close and you wait another 5 minutes, pressed from all sides by anxious commuters. When the train arrives, you work your elbows urgently to get inside. Got it. You prepare for a long ride ahead. There's a similar ordeal awaiting at the next 4 stops. When you finally get to your station, you're already exhausted. It's 9:20, you're late as expected, and there's still some way to go. A crowd of late runners like you is even larger in the city center, so you take a deep breath and dive in. People are going different ways, so you have to push through, which makes the going painfully slow. If the streets were not so busy, it would take you no more than 15 minutes to get to the place. But in this mess, you spend an entire hour brawling your way. At last, at 10:30, you're at the entrance of your building, Demos, Inc. Despite it being one of the biggest office buildings in the city, there's a line to use the 6 elevators as well. You roll your eyes and set to wait another half hour just to get to your floor already. Wow, you're in the cabin. What a relief! You press the button with number 33 on it and wait. Again. It's 11:03 a.m. You've been awake for almost 6 hours, and yet you've only just arrived at your workplace. Your colleagues are zooming around the floor like ants, and you carefully make your way to your cubicle. At least it's near a window, and you have a great view over the town. You look outside and see the familiar picture. Rows upon neat rows of skyscrapers, most of them apartment buildings combined with offices. It's been over 50 years since the anomaly happened. No one knows where it started exactly, but people began having quadruplets and even quintuplets much more often than usual. And strangely, it seemed to only affect this city and its suburbs. In the first decade, some decided it was something in the air or water of the town and moved to other places. But it turned out everyone who was born here was affected already. Even those who moved to other countries later reported to have up to jaw-dropping 10 children all at once. And not everyone wanted or even was able to leave town, so something had to be done. That's how Demos Incorporated appeared. Its mission was to both help the city adapt to the new circumstances and investigate the cause of such a birth anomaly. And the measures taken were drastic but efficient. First of all, the corporation invested into real estate development. Bigger families needed more space to live comfortably, so new apartment blocks were built with more rooms and more spacious interiors overall. People were offered to sell their old apartments and houses in favor of newer places to live, and most of them gladly agreed. There was a downside too, though. Those who didn't want to move soon found themselves surrounded by huge construction sites. Eventually, they couldn't stand the noise and dust and agreed to sell their dwellings. The whole city started transforming. Old buildings got demolished to make way for new, taller, and bigger ones. Roads were broadened for transport to move more freely. New businesses were opened to give jobs and services to thousands of new citizens. But that wasn't enough. Population growth was more rapid than city development. Thousands left, but millions stayed. The initiative to restrict birth was met with a massive civil protest and discarded. As a result, even with hundreds of skyscrapers, the city is terribly overpopulated. Its area has grown massively since the anomaly began, and now it's the largest city in the world, not only by population, but by area too. Working conditions have deteriorated as well. More and more people look for jobs that can be carried out from home because of incredible traffic jams. Others have found work in their own or neighboring apartment buildings. Yet others still, like you, are not so lucky. They have to wake up early in the morning just to get to work on time. It's not uncommon to have an alarm set for 4 a.m. At this time, it's relatively crowdless in the streets. Naturally though, nursing and tutoring have been booming all this time. Since every parent now has at least 4 kids to raise, they accept any help they can get. Single people earn good money babysitting for their neighbors and tutoring their kids of school age. Schools, by the way, have been built at an astonishing pace, yet still there aren't nearly enough of them to accommodate all the children. Parents register years ahead of time for their offspring to get elementary education. Entertainment has been hit hard as well. Numerous new restaurants, cinemas, theme parks have been opened within and beyond the city limits. But ordering a table or buying a ticket is a game of incredible chance. With the city population grown tenfold, you must plan your weekend at least 2 weeks ahead. And even going to the countryside for a picnic is an adventure in itself. First, you have to leave the city. Then, find a spot where there won't be crowds of nature-goers like you. And after you're done, it's a trip back home. Normally, people prepare for at least a 2-day stay in the country because it takes 3 hours just to leave the town and another 3 to get back. Lost in thoughts about all this, you don't notice your colleague approaching you and start when she touches your shoulder. She smiles and apologizes, and you notice a folder in her hand. She traces your gaze and puts the folder on your table, opening it. Inside, you see some documents, but don't understand what they're about. Your colleague points to several paragraphs, and you have to read them 3 times before realization dawns on you like a hammer. It's a set of reports from several cities across the country. There are lots of numbers you can barely understand, but all of the papers have one thing in common. They end with a request for Demos Inc. to open a branch in their respective towns. You count the reports. 17. 17 new cities have just experienced the same baby boom you've been trying to cope with for half a century.